You wake up with a feeling you can't explain. Nothing has happened yet. The day hasn't begun. No messages, no conversations, no events. And still, something feels set. A quiet anxiety, a strange calm, a sense of sadness, anticipation, or unease that arrived before the reason for it exists. Then the day unfolds. A conversation confirms the tension. An event carries the same emotional tone you felt that morning. And suddenly, the question forms in the back of your mind. Did I feel this before it happened? Some dreams don't show images. They don't predict events. They don't replay memories. They deliver emotions, raw, precise, and seemingly premature. Dreams that don't tell you what will happen, but somehow prepare you for how it will feel. This experience is subtle, easy to dismiss, yet deeply unsettling once you notice it, because it suggests something radical about the dreaming mind. That while we sleep, the brain may already be tuning itself to the emotional future. Tonight, we're exploring a phenomenon that lives on the edge between psychology and intuition. Dreams that appear to anticipate the emotions of the coming day. Not as prophecy, not as mysticism, but as a quiet, sophisticated form of emotional foresight. And by the end, you may begin to wonder how often your mind already knows what's coming, before you consciously do. Dreams that seem to anticipate the emotions of the following day are rarely dramatic. They don't arrive as clear visions or symbolic warnings. They arrive as moods. You may dream of vague tension, undefined sadness, quiet relief, or a sense of pressure with no clear source. The dream itself might be forgettable, fragments, scenes without logic, or even no imagery at all. And yet, when you wake up, the emotional tone remains. What makes this phenomenon so striking is its timing. The emotion appears before the event that later seems to justify it. The dream doesn't predict what will happen. It predicts how your nervous system will respond. And when the day unfolds, the emotional match feels uncanny. Psychologically, these dreams are not considered premonitions. They are understood as anticipatory emotional processing. The human brain is constantly forecasting the near future. While awake, this forecasting is noisy and distracted by tasks. During sleep, however, the brain shifts into a mode where it integrates subtle cues, unfinished conversations, looming obligations, unspoken tensions, expected encounters, many of which never reached conscious awareness. Dreams become the stage where these cues are emotionally organized. Instead of showing you tomorrow's events, the dream extracts their emotional signature. It prepares the body and mind for a state that is statistically likely, given everything you already know, even if you don't know that you know it. This is why these dreams often occur before emotionally charged conversations, stressful responsibilities, reunions or separations, anticipated judgment or evaluation, moments of relief after prolonged tension. From a phenomenological perspective, the key feature is not foresight, but continuity. The dream and the next day share the same emotional atmosphere, as if the mind carried a mood across the boundary of sleep. Importantly, this phenomenon does not require vivid dreaming. Many people report waking with an emotion but no clear memory of a dream. The dream did its work beneath awareness, delivering the result rather than the narrative. So the question is not whether dreams can see the future. The real question is this: how much of the emotional future is already being shaped, quietly and invisibly, before we wake up? To answer that, we need to look deeper into the psychology of emotional prediction, unconscious expectation, and how the mind prepares itself for what it senses is coming. Psychologically, dreams that anticipate next-day emotions emerge from the mind's capacity for implicit emotional forecasting. Long before you consciously recognize an upcoming emotional situation, your brain has already registered it. Tone of voice, unanswered messages, subtle shifts in routine, anticipated encounters, even the absence of something expected. These signals are often too weak, too fragmented, or too uncomfortable to fully process while awake, but they are not ignored. During waking life, the conscious mind prioritizes action, logic, and control. It postpones emotional integration in order to function. At night, that hierarchy reverses. The dreaming mind is no longer focused on what to do. It becomes focused on what is coming emotionally. This is where anticipatory affect comes in. Anticipatory affect refers to the emotional states we begin to experience before an event actually occurs. Anxiety before a meeting, relief before resolution, dread before confrontation. These emotions don't come from the event itself. They come from the mind's prediction of how the event will affect the self. Dreams provide a space where this prediction can be felt safely. Rather than simulating the event, the dream extracts its emotional core and allows the psyche to rehearse it. The dream doesn't say, "Tomorrow you will argue." It says, "Tomorrow your nervous system will feel like this." Another crucial mechanism is unconscious expectation. Humans constantly form expectations based on past experience. If a similar situation has ended badly before, the emotional system prepares early. Dreams are especially sensitive to these learned patterns. They reactivate emotional memories and align them with upcoming contexts, even when those contexts haven't fully entered conscious awareness. This is why these dreams often feel vague. The mind is not constructing a story, it is calibrating an emotional baseline. There is also the role of emotional continuity. The psyche seeks smooth transitions between states. Sudden emotional shifts are costly and destabilizing. By introducing an emotion during sleep, the mind reduces the shock of experiencing it during the day. The dream acts like a soft entry point, a way of saying, "This feeling is coming. Let's introduce it gently." Importantly, this process is not about fear or negativity alone. Dreams can anticipate calm, confidence, relief, or emotional release. The mechanism is neutral. It prepares for what is most likely, not what is most threatening. From a psychological standpoint, these dreams reveal that emotional awareness does not begin when something happens. It begins when the mind senses that something is about to matter. To understand how the brain performs this subtle emotional forecasting at the biological level, without conscious prediction or mystical foresight, we need to examine what happens in the sleeping brain when it simulates the near future. From a neuroscientific perspective, dreams that anticipate next-day emotions emerge from how the brain predicts and regulates emotional states during sleep. The brain is not reactive by nature, it is predictive. At all times, awake or asleep, it is building models of what is likely to happen next. These models are not focused only on events, but on internal states, how the body and mind will feel in response to those events. During sleep, especially REM sleep, this predictive function becomes emotionally dominant. Several key brain systems are involved. The amygdala, responsible for detecting emotional relevance and threat, becomes highly active during REM sleep. At the same time, the hippocampus reactivates recent memories, including incomplete interactions, unresolved plans, and emotionally charged expectations from the previous day. But unlike waking life, these memories are not processed analytically. Instead, they are integrated into emotional predictions. The prefrontal cortex, which normally dampens emotional responses and imposes rational interpretation, shows reduced activity during REM sleep. This allows emotional signals to flow freely without being suppressed or explained away. The brain is not asking, "Is this logical?" It is asking, "How will this feel?" Neurochemistry plays a decisive role. REM sleep is characterized by high levels of acetylcholine, which enhances internal simulation and associative processing, and very low levels of norepinephrine, which normally marks experiences as urgent or immediate. This combination allows the brain to explore future emotional states without triggering full stress responses. In other words, the brain can preview emotions safely. There is also strong involvement of the anterior insula, a region crucial for interoception, the perception of internal bodily states. The insula helps the brain predict how emotions will manifest physically: tension, calm, heaviness, readiness. During REM sleep, this system becomes finely tuned, allowing dreams to deliver emotions as bodily moods rather than narratives. This explains why many people wake up with a feeling but no memory of a dream. The brain has already adjusted the emotional baseline. Neuroscientists describe this process as affective forecasting at the neural level. The sleeping brain integrates past experience, current context, and likely near-future demands to pre-configure emotional readiness. Dreams are not visions of the future. They are neural rehearsals of emotional states. Importantly, this system is probabilistic, not prophetic. The brain prepares for what is most likely, not what is certain. When the anticipated emotion matches the next day's events, it feels uncanny. When it doesn't, the dream is forgotten. To understand how researchers have observed and measured this process in real people through experiments, sleep studies, and documented cases, we now need to move from theory to evidence. Although dreams that anticipate next-day emotions are often described subjectively, the mechanisms behind them are well documented in sleep science, affective neuroscience, and psychology, just not under mystical labels. One of the strongest lines of evidence comes from studies on REM sleep and emotional regulation. Researchers have consistently found that REM sleep plays a critical role in processing emotional expectations, not just past experiences. When participants enter REM sleep after emotionally demanding days, their dreams and post-sleep mood often reflect emotions tied to anticipated future interactions, rather than to events that already occurred. In sleep lab experiments where participants kept detailed dream and mood diaries, a clear pattern emerged. Emotional tone in dreams frequently matched the emotional tone of the following day, especially on days involving evaluation, confrontation, or uncertainty. Importantly, the dreams did not predict events. They predicted emotional readiness. Another key body of research comes from studies on affective priming during sleep. In these experiments, subtle cues related to upcoming tasks, such as words, sounds, or contextual reminders, were introduced before sleep. Even when participants did not consciously remember these cues, their dreams reflected corresponding emotional states. The following day, participants reported feeling emotionally prepared or already in the mood for tasks they had not consciously rehearsed. Clinical psychology provides further confirmation. Therapists frequently observe that patients report emotionally charged dreams before difficult sessions, important conversations, or moments of personal decision. These dreams often carry the emotional tone of what will later unfold: nervousness, relief, defensiveness, or openness, without referencing the event itself. Researchers interpret this as preparatory emotional simulation. There is also compelling evidence from studies on anticipatory anxiety and sleep. Individuals with upcoming stressors, such as exams, public speaking, or medical appointments, often experience dreams dominated by emotional tension the night before. Even when the dream content is unrelated, physiological markers like heart rate variability and cortisol levels upon waking reflect emotional activation consistent with the coming challenge. Interestingly, this phenomenon is not limited to negative emotions. Studies on reward anticipation show that people expecting positive outcomes, reunions, relief after deadlines, meaningful social connection, often report dreams characterized by calm, warmth, or resolution the night before. The emotional system prepares for pleasure just as it prepares for stress. Across these studies, one conclusion remains consistent: dreams do not predict the future. They predict the emotional impact of what the brain already expects. The dreaming mind acts as an emotional forecast engine, integrating cues, probabilities, and memory to smooth the transition into the next day's emotional landscape. And that leads us to the final reflection, one that reframes these dreams not as mysterious coincidences, but as signs of how deeply the mind works ahead of conscious awareness. Dreams that seem to anticipate the emotions of the coming day don't feel dramatic while they're happening. They feel quietly precise. They don't show you the future. They tune you to it. When you wake up already carrying a mood, it can feel unsettling, as if something arrived too early, as if the mind moved ahead without asking permission. But this is not intuition in the mystical sense. It is something more intimate and more human. It is emotional preparation. While you sleep, The brain is not resting from life. It is negotiating with it. It scans unfinished conversations, expected encounters, subtle social cues, internal conflicts you haven't named yet. And then it does something remarkable. It adjusts you, not cognitively, emotionally. So when the day begins, you are not starting from zero. You are already aligned with what is likely to matter. This is why these dreams feel so accurate in hindsight. They don't guess events. They predict how you will feel when meaning arrives. And meaning, unlike events, follows patterns. Perhaps the most revealing insight is this: you don't become emotional because things happen. Things happen, and your mind has already prepared a place for the emotion to land. Dreams are not messages from the future. They are messages from the part of you that already knows what is coming, because it has been paying attention all along. And maybe that's the quiet power of dreaming. Not to tell you what will happen, but to make sure that when it does, you are already ready to feel it.